Now I notice on the back of this little transmitter we have,
Let me unplug this.
maybe unplug that, a little plate.
So this plate was designed to mount the transmitter onto a boom pole. Yeah, the boom pole comes in here, and then the transmitter hangs upside down. And there's something really neat that I want to show, and that is, you see the screen? It's upside down. Well, you can actually turn the screen.
Invert it?
Yeah, you can invert it. It's pretty cool.
Boom operators will love you everywhere.
All right. Well, I'm married, boom operators. Don't get any ideas. There we go. And so the screen is flipped, and the transmitter sits upside down. Yeah. So,
is there any plan to do a plug-on transmitter?
Well, Sound Devices doesn't really tip their hand as to what new products are down the line. But what I can say is that an external transmitter, an external body pack mounted to a boom pole is preferable than a plug-on, RF-wise, and I'll explain. So when a plug-on is connected to a shotgun microphone, the microphone acts as the antenna. The longer the microphone, probably the better the radiation. If you put a handheld dynamic mic into a plug-on and then you're carrying the microphone with your hand, you're basically holding the transmitter by the antenna, which is not very good. When this transmitter is mounted to a boom pole, the antenna is freestanding, so there's nothing in the way. It's outside of the blimp. It doesn't add any counterweight to the microphone itself, and it's much quicker and faster to access the batteries. It's a better transmitter for booming than having the plug-on. Yeah, for all those reasons I just mentioned. It doesn't remove the need of a plug-on per se, but for a plug-on to mount on a boom, it's better to have a body pack.
Okay. Next question would be, is there a plan for a smaller size transmitter?
We get that request a lot. We're going to come on with that maybe tomorrow by noon. No. But we've received that request, and
I mean, they're very slim. Like, I don't think they're bulky, but
yeah. And half the transmitter is the battery. The other half is the electronics. But yeah, that request for a miniature transmitter has come our way many, many times. So there's a lot of validity in that request.
Okay. Now, in the kit, I noticed that there are different sizes antennas. Why are there a number of antennas included?
So you get multiple antennas in the receiver, and that's because the receivers are fully wideband. The receivers that John Barry brings to Australia go from 470 to 694. That's it's around 100 megahertz more than what they get in the United States, because in the US it goes from 470 to 608. So the receiver comes with different antenna lengths to accommodate different frequency ranges. Now, although the receivers are fully wideband, the transmitters are not. So the A band is about 78 megahertz wide, the B band is 90 megahertz wide, the C band's 100 megahertz wide. So the receivers that John Barry gets need to accommodate all three bands, depending on the frequency of the transmitter. So that's why you get multiple lengths antennas. But not only do you get multiple lengths antennas, you get different antenna orientations. And let me show you something here on this screen. So notice that there's an antenna sticking straight out, and here's an antenna with the right angle connector. I'm going to get a little ahead of myself, but the tests that Audio Limited has done proves that having two antennas in different orientations maximizes the reception of the receiver. That's why you get a right angle and you get a straight. You have one for the vertical polarity and one for the horizontal polarity. What that means is when a radio wave exits a transmitter antenna and bounces around metallic structures, it doesn't arrive in the same polarity or in the same orientation that it left. It bounces, it changes. And so sometimes that signal comes directly straight on, maximizing your power transfer. Sometimes it comes off axis and it reduces your reception. So when you put on, what Audio Limited has found is that if you put on a right angle and a straight antenna on your receiver, you get best of both worlds.
Okay, so if we're going to mount that onto a camera,
Yes.
you're still going to recommend having
A straight and
A straight
a
and
horizontal.
articulated, okay.
Absolutely. So
with the receiver. I noticed that you've got on the back of this one, but then we've also got it into a rack mount. Can you just talk us through the options
Absolutely.
with the receivers?
So there are two versions of the receiver that John Barry is going to offer in Australia, and one is the hardwired cable version, and one is the slot version. The hardwired
the
cable
hardware.
version is this one right here. Yeah, and if you notice, it has this side exit, so the receiver sits on the bag, nice and neat, and doesn't crimp the cables. And these three cables that are exiting is for output 1, output 2, and for power.
And is the cables included with that plate, or are they?
Yes. So if you buy the XLR version of the receiver, you get it comes mounted, and if you buy the slot receiver, you get the one with the DB25 pin, and that's what's
Which you can
inserted
see on the
into the SL6. So if you purchase a slot receiver and you want to convert it to an XLR, you buy the AXLR accessory, and you'll get the two XLRs and then the pigtail for the power. This is really neat because you can daisy chain the receivers
Perfect.
for power,
It's got the plate.
and it's got the plate in the back.
So just to clear that again, so if you buy the receiver with the XLR, that comes included with that receiver? If you buy
Yes,
the XLR version?
that is correct.
And if you buy the slot version, that comes with the slot plate. So it's not an additional part, but
That
you
is
can
correct.
buy the XLR if you want to swap them around.
That is correct.
Okay, cool.
That is correct. So
Now this, I can see the receiver is sitting in the Sound Devices SL6 connected to the Sound Devices 688.
correct.
Is there a rack-mounted system, a standalone version for the A10 system?
Funny you should ask. Yes, it's called the A10 rack.
The A10 rack.
The A10 rack.
Oh, here's one you prepared
I
earlier.
have one. I snuck it on an airplane. Don't tell Border Patrol, Customs. Okay, here we go. Here's the A10 rack. The A10 rack was designed to rack mount your portable receivers. It allows you to repurpose your receivers so you don't have to double up on equipment. And there's 4 slots. And for those of you that are familiar with the SL6, you can see that we use those same rubber covers, and the receivers fit in here. One of the beautiful things about the A10 rack is it works with other wireless brands as well.
That was my next question. So you can put your Electrosonics in.
Yes, absolutely.
Sennheiser.
You can put your Electrosonics and your WYSICOM. Now, the Sennheiser receiver, their new digital receiver, it fits a little big in the A10. So when you put it in, it bumps into the antenna connectors.
Right.
So it'll fit in the SL6, but it won't, mechanically it
A10.
won't fit in the A10. I'm sure there's a workaround for that at some point, but right now, if you have Electros or Wizzies, you could absolutely put them in.
And the end plate, obviously, that goes into the SL6 is identical for the A10 rack?
That is correct. That is correct. So the A10 rack has A and B antenna outputs for every receiver, and the switch here on the left,
What's the purpose of this switch?
that switch is designed to turn the A10 rack on, providing DC voltage to the active receive antennas. And if you're using passive receive antennas, you just turn it on without the DC voltage and save cart battery.
Yeah, excellent.
So that's pretty slick. Let me zoom out and let's turn this around. There we go. The A10 rack has multiple outputs. It's got XLR and Dante, and you can use them at the same time. It's DC powered. The XLR outputs are tied directly to the receiver slot. So let's say you have one A10 receiver and you're using the digital output, you'll take XLR output 1 and you'll get both AES outputs out of here. But then let's say your next 3 receivers are Electros and they're analog outputs, you'll use 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
So there's no issues if you're combining different receivers into the rack?
That is correct. And in addition, you can use the Dante outputs at the same time. So it's a great way to get your analog wireless onto a Dante network. On the left side here, you have the antenna inputs, and you have the indicator that there's 12 volts that can be supplied. And
One,
you can cascade your daisy chain, the 1A10 rack, into a second.
So I
No
was
more
going to
than
ask how
two.
many? No more than two.
No more
Okay.
than two. Yeah.
One question I have regarding the receivers is they seem to run quite hot.
Oh yeah, they're
temperature-wise.
toasty. Well, they were designed to be used in the winter. No, that's not true. No,
Hand warmer.
they're a hand warmer. Yeah,
They're
if you like your
expensive.
croissants, shove it in there. No, so there's a lot going on in the receiver. There are 4 wireless receivers in the A10 receiver, and 2 of them are for channel 1, and the other 2 are for channel 2. Now, one of the things in terms of RF, one of the RF qualities of the A10 wireless is that it's extremely linear, which means that the transmitters themselves do not generate third-order intermods, and the receivers don't contribute to any additional intermods that are outside of, electronically it's not creating any. And so in order to achieve that linearity, we use really high-quality Class A amplifiers in the receiver, and they run toasty.
So if someone's concerned about that heat, though, it's not going to affect the
No,
operation of it?
absolutely not. No, they were designed, yeah, and in a way we use the body as a form of heat sink, and we try to keep the components cool internally. So yeah, it'll be warm to the touch, but there's nothing to be concerned.